You will drown in eternal night.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and to another Mortal Kombat mobile character review. This time we will take a closer look at Kombat Cup Sonya Blade, now that her challenge is pretty much over and she had a very short challenge duration. I just wanted to get this one out to you guys. Kombat Cup Sonya Blade is part of the Spec Ops class and her passive is called Referee. All Kombat Cup characters on team are immune to stun. The first time Sonya tags in, she forces the opponent to tag out and lose all power. That forced out opponent has recovery and power generation disabled and cannot tag in. Bosses are immune. Kombat Cup Sonya Blade was introduced with update 1.18.1 alongside with Kombat Cup Johnny Cage, who was the only other character in that update. She has always been a challenge card, and since she was released after update 1.18, the level cap was already raised to be maxed out with level 60 and Fusion X. Also, her passive has not changed since the old days. In the old store she was available for 485 souls. Of course she is a part of the challenge pack, and despite NetherRealm bringing a few different other packs for her during challenges and stuff like that, she's also one of the potential rewards that drops at season end in Faction Wars. In the new store you can obtain her for 450 souls. Sonya's gear piece is the military vest and it gives you 35% max health boost, 20% self-heal at the end of special attack 3 or X-ray/Fate Blow attack, which is for Sonya Blade characters only, and 50% opponent critical hit chance reduction. In terms of her feats of strength, she will have to perform 2000 special 1 attacks to unlock her rune. For her victory stances she has to win 750 matches in Faction Wars. For her taunts she has to win 500 matches in Battle Mode. For her icons she will have to perform 3000 combo enders. For her backgrounds she has to perform 250 X-ray/Fatal Blow attacks. For her titles she has to perform 1500 Special 2 attacks. And now we are going to take a closer look at the victory stances one by one, starting with Double Down. Next up we have No Chance. Third would be 10 Hot. And exclusive for Kombat Cup Sonya Blade only, MVP. And on your victory screen it will look like this. Now I'm going to show you all of her backgrounds. Next up we have the icons. And finally, the titles. Kombat Cup Sonya Blade has two kinds of combo enders. The first one consists of 2 kicks pushing the opponent back, making it ideal for follow-up attacks. If her second move reminds you more of the soccer part, then you are absolutely correct, because this is just a classic fallback which she uses as a final combo ender. Another great thing about Kombat Cup Sonya Blade is her chaining when it comes to basic attacks. If you get the timing right, you can basically do that forever and keep your opponent in this endless loop of basic attacks and combo enders. Her special one attack is called R-Kick, and it has no special buff or debuff tied to it, it simply deals damage. It is quite fast, it can be cast from anywhere from the screen where you desire, and it is also capable of knocking out your opponent. Her special 2 attack is called Red Card, and it has a fear debuff tied to it, meaning that it will force out your opponent in case you are not managing to basically KO your opponent. And that is quite an important fact, because this attack deals massive damage, so in most cases the opponent is KO'd and there is not even a need to force them out, but in case they have a bone shield or revenant shield up or something, they would be forced out. Her X-ray attack is called Special Forces, and it has a shield buff tied to it. This attack is identical with all gold and diamond variations that we have of Sonya Blade in the game so far. Maybe in the future we will get MK11 Sonya Blade, and then we will get the Fatal Blow as well, but so far there is only this X-ray. Her passive triggers simply by tagging in for the first time, forcing out the first opponent and bringing up a random one from the other team, which could be basically any of the other two if the team is complete, and that's all there is to it. So now it's already time to recommend some gear, and I'm going with the T800 Skeleton first, simply because it will reduce power costs of Special 2 by 50%, and it will also offer a nice health boost for Sonya, something which also is offered by the military vest, her own gear piece, and of course you can combine them to get an even stronger health boost for your Sonya Blade character. But it also offers the critical hit chance reduction, meaning that Sonya Blade would take less damage as well from attacks. And then of course healing when performing an X-ray. My next suggestion would be the Rusty Chainsaw, simply because Sonya Blade always works the best if she has a block breaker for her basic attacks, and of course here you also would have the reduction of power cost on Special 2, meaning you wouldn't even have to go for the T800 Endoskeleton, and if you do, you could use basically any block breaker like revolvers or bladed fan. But with the Rusty Chainsaw you would also have the opportunity to add something like the Bloody Voodoo Doll, which would give you 25% power generation. On top, it would provide extra damage by 15% in Faction Wars, and it will also reduce the power costs for every special attack used by Sonya Blade. As the crowning jewel when it comes to weapons, I would choose Moloch's Ball and Chain, giving her the chance to have unblockable special attacks, and since the R-Kick as well as her Special 2 Red Card has several little mini hits, there is always a high chance that Moloch's ball and chain will break that block of the opponent. On top, it offers the chance to apply lethal blows and also the chance to have special 2 attacks for free. When it comes to one of my personal favorite loadouts, I would go with revolvers, Shao Kahn's helmet and the T-800 endoskeleton, because this way you have critical hit chance, you have health, you have the reduction of power cost on special 2, you have the basic block breaker and more crit chance. So there is a lot of stuff in terms of damage and protection provided for Sonya Blade just with those 3 items. Then let's get to the character recommendations, starting with Balance Kenshi, who gives a bar of power to every Spec Ops teammate. And since our 2 Kombat Cup characters are Spec Ops, he is a great third man in the team, but you could also go with Heavy Weapons Jax Briggs. He will increase the toughness of his Spec Ops teammates, and since Sonya already has quite high toughness, or at least it feels that way, adding Jax to that makes it even more extreme, basically letting Sonya take as little damage as possible. For the other side of the spectrum, dealing damage, how about going with Demolition Sonya Blade, who adds 30% attack to each Spec Ops teammate, so basically 1.5 Wrath Hammers, as I used to say all the time, just minus the extra bar of power of course. But there is also a way to completely ignore opponents' toughness just by adding classic Sonya Blade to the team. So technically the effect would almost be the same, it just depends on how you wanna approach it. Do you want to weaken your enemies or do you just want to be stronger by yourself? And of course the winner in my book would be Kombat Cup Johnny Cage, because this guy would add 15% to attack, health, toughness and recovery for every Kombat Cup character on the team, and since there is only Sonya Blade as the other one, we never got a third one. That is definitely the card to play together with Kombat Cup Sonya Blade. Overall, Kombat Cup Sonya Blade is a really good card when it comes to damage, when it comes to special attacks. She is a little bit generic, I would say. I'm never been a big fan of the R kick itself, and also the force out is not exactly what I would want to see on her, because she already has the force out when she uses her passive, at least for the first time when she tags in. So the force out kind of feels like a little bit overpowered in terms of the same effect over and over again. But on the other hand, then she also provides a shield when she goes all the way for her X-ray. So that is always incredibly useful. And there's also a little weird thing that I noticed, which might be fixed with one of the next updates. But now when she forces out opponents, she does not remove the power bars as it's stated in her passive. And I think that is a bug, and there was always a high possibility for bugs regarding Kombat Cup Sonya Blade, depending on what they did with updates. In the very beginning, for example, she gave Dark Raiden directly an X-ray even if he only had 1 bar of power, so he went up all the way up to an X-ray, waiting outside just to come in then as the final fighter with an X-ray. There have been crashes when she forced out opponents and all that stuff. So right now we have the thing where she doesn't power drain them completely or just erases that power. And they also seem to be pretty fine by gaining power even when tagged out. But then let us have a quick look at the pros and cons again, and my first pro would be her passive. It can be very useful to force out a character that you don't want to deal with right now, and as I already mentioned with the broken passive, or partly broken passive, that she doesn't power drain them. If that would be fixed, it would be even better, because then you could really get rid of some very inconvenient situations within the game just by taking away everything that the opponent has built up to. When it comes to basic attacks, her chaining is just absolutely amazing. She is so fluid in her movements that the opponent hardly can attack you back if you just get the timing right. So for her basic attacks, Sonya definitely gets 2 thumbs up. As my third and final pro, I will choose the shields that she provides with X-rays, basically protecting herself from incoming damage, which includes special attacks and even X-rays or fatal blows, pretty much reducing that incoming damage to a very small percentage. When it comes to my negatives, that one might surprise you, but I also mention her passive here because I sometimes really forget that she hasn't been tagged in yet, and then I just want to use her properly. For example, when I have her ready with an X-ray and then I see the opponent tag in, I tag her in, and then she tags that opponent out that I just want to X-ray, and of course that X-ray will land then on the other opponent who is probably already pretty low on health, and that is always very frustrating. And it's basically this problem that I have with her passive that I really would like to be choosing in what situation I want to give the red card instead of just having it tied to the tag in, because this way I will always have to keep Sonya Blade tagged out until the right moment where I feel that she could be the most useful in a match, and otherwise she is just waiting outside doing nothing instead of just being useful within the match all the time, just tagging her in at will. When she has like a special 2 ready and I just want to use that one, tag her in, use the special 2, tag her out, and then maybe later tag in and then giving a red card. That would be interesting. Although I have to admit that in towers her passive with the tag out or force out the red card is absolutely useful when you're playing gold teams especially. But since I personally don't use her in towers at all and mainly in faction wars only, I'm pretty annoyed with her passive because she never lets me play with her the way I want to. My next negative, and that's a very personal one, that is the design, because I absolutely don't care about sports on TV or wherever, so this entire soccer/football thing, to put it the nice way, I couldn't care less. As third and final con, and I already mentioned that earlier in the review, that would be her fear debuff on special attack 2, which I find is like one too many because we don't really need that since she already has that tied to her passive. If instead she would provide something like Snare or even Power Drain, it would be amazing, because Johnny has the Power Drain on Special 1, she Power Drains on Special 2, then that would be such a great combination for that team. Especially when thinking that you could add Balanced Kenshi to that team as well, it would be like a Power Drain fest par excellence. Yeah, but that is it regarding the pros and cons, and now we are getting to a final rating, and my rating for Kombat Cup Sonya Blade will be a 8 out of 10. She is a good or even great gold card. She is absolutely worth to be obtained via a challenge, so if the challenge for Sonya is up, it definitely makes sense to grind to get as many copies of her as you can basically muster. For me personally though, I'm annoyed by her passive and I'm not a fan of Spec Ops characters in general, so she basically collects a lot of dust in my collection and is rarely used at all. As a matter of fact, she is one of my least used gold characters. But yeah, that was my review for Kombat Cup Sonya Blade in a nutshell for you guys, and I hope that you enjoyed this review. Of course, I already did a review on Kombat Cup Johnny Cage. I will leave a link to that directly in the end title card, so you can reach that one with one click as well, in case you are interested to see my thoughts on that card. Take care everybody, thanks for your time. Thank you for tuning in once again. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe. In case you didn't like the video, hit the dislike button twice just to make sure. And if you want to support the channel a little further, please consider joining the Patreon family of KC Mobile Gaming. You can already do that with as little as just $1 a month. And also follow me on social media like Twitter and Facebook. You will find all the necessary information in the description below of every video. If you want to see more content, then why don't you just click on one of those two videos here. Thank you for your support. Have a good one. KC over and out for today.